first thing we need to do is approve the agenda.
I make a motion we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, you have Keith second or,
Yes.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Have y'all received the minutes in your packet? You need to approve the minutes. Any corrections or? That's great.
I was gonna, move that we approve them.
Okay,
Second.
okay. We got it.
And that,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Okay. Turn it over to Christy to do the program and facility update.
So Barktoberfest and the trunk or treat were lots of fun. I appreciate the board's help at the trunk or treat. The Veterans Appreciation event is tomorrow here at Town Hall. Shag lessons are going well. Those will finish up here in the next couple weeks. It was a 6-week session. As a reminder to you all, I've announced this a couple of times, but Fran Way, our coastal consultant engineer, will be at the November Board of Commissioners meeting to give his annual report on the status of the beach. Upcoming events, the turkey trot registration is on par for what we usually have attend and will be held Thanksgiving morning. The tree lighting is set for Thursday, December 5th at Bridgeview Park. The Sandy Paws Dog Parade and the Santa Saunter and Reindeer Run will be Saturday, December 14th. Moving to facilities, the walkway at 801 OBW is coming along well, and there was another unexpected issue that developed at Bridgeview Park. The pump out unit that the boaters use has to be replaced. So currently we're advising all renters that they will not have access until the unit is replaced.
Any word on your fixing of the basketball court?
I got a second quote back that didn't make me any happier than the first quote did.
Okay.
And I have been trying to get the third person to give a quote, but haven't been successful in receiving it yet.
Anybody else have any questions about programs or facilities?
What's it gonna cost for the pump that the boat got?
That is the whole unit. It's a $16,000 unit.
It's not repairable.
It is not. It's been repaired once.
Is there any ability to tie that into the sanitary sewer, or does it require separate?
It goes into our sewer system. It was hooked up to our sewer system. It runs from the dock. So
Okay,
All right. We have two major items on our agenda today. One is just a overall discussion of a master plan, and if you've got a handout that Christy and I kind of worked on so that it's easier to read, to see what we've done, and then if there are items left to be done in the future, not that we need to schedule any of those, but just to kind of give you an update. As to, where we are, so. I think most of you had time to look at this. Is there any specific questions we have of Christy, or anything that we think we need to discuss for just a few minutes? Okay. I think the only thing I had was the bike route. Is that, I mean, we have a bike route.
that was improving the Holden tour, and that was a recommendation that they had in there, and all these prices are the prices that they had in 2021. And what the board decided, this board decided last year, was that they were going to wait till the bike lanes were done before moving forward with anything. So that would be just tying the Holden bike tour, the history part of that, back into how it now goes with the bike lanes.
So we can just do that in a future year.
What does that actually look like?
There's a,
I'm saying the work to tie that in. What does that actually look like?
They didn't design anything. That was just a cost estimate, and then that would be something that would have to be accomplished as a separate effort.
So as far as the scope of that thought process, is it good I mean, is it signage? Is there maps, publications?
Currently, there was a brochure. I know that it has been used by and updated by the Alliance with they used some of the spots on it with their scavenger hunt this past summer because they asked about some of the sites. But other than the old brochure and the signage that has like which spot it is when you go visit, it would be, if you were tying it together, it would be new signage that tells you getting from point to point or new literature, education, that kind of thing. So
So we're not talking about really changing it, just making it modern day so people can access it and use it.
yeah, and I mean, if the board chose, they could look at additional things to add. Now that you can further traverse the boulevard safely.
Oh, I got you. But this is probably just advertising for the back, like getting the information out. Okay.
And signage.
And signs. Okay.
Anything else with the master plan that we see here?
Um, I don't know how this ties in, so I'll just say it. So I went over to the pickleball, I think is the one thing that got me to go over there, but where the old pavilion was, and kind of looking at that and looking at the fishing next to it and then block queue and all this information that's going in. What would it be a good solution for us to kind of step back at a helicopter view and look at that whole thing again?
I think maybe we'll put that on the sidebar right now.
Yeah.
Because that may be something we look at or recommend it be looked at, but at this point, I think we've got a task that's very specific about pickleball.
Okay.
But I think something may evolve from that discussion or what we do. But at this point, I don't think we're at that point to say, because we have no idea at this point where we would put pickleball. And that's one of the things we have to do with the task force to look more thoroughly at that.
Okay.
So, but yes, I think.
I think I was looking more, across between the tasker and then also the overall plan here. And I don't know if that, I guess I thought about tying in the Bridgeview Park, but you can't do that because you got the private property between them. But I think having something down on the water that's not oceanside, that's more of a recreation on the tranquil side, so to speak, and interacting with boaters might be a good thing to do on there.
And I think eventually I think this group will recommend that we do a new master plan. And that would certainly be something that I think would come up. Because in this current master plan, there was suggestion that we tie Bridgeview with what was happening down under just where the old pavilion was. So there's already a suggestion. There was no price tag, I think, put to that or anything like that, but they were observing that we needed to tie some of this together.
Yeah.
So hopefully, when we do a new master plan, if we do a new master plan in the next few years, that some of that, or it depends on what we look at as a body, is what to do with the pickleball courts, whether something like that might come up. So yeah, I think it's not a bad thing. I mean, we may just need to set that to the side.
No, it's a bigger picture. It's a bigger picture.
But it needs to be kept in the forefront, I think. Anybody else?
So the update on the playground, is that in the 5-10-year plan, or is that just something because there's problems that we got to replace some things?
Yeah, she's got that in her plan.
Okay.
Yeah, the master plan didn't address the playground.
Right.
They didn't really talk about, they talked about the park, but they didn't talk about the replacement of playground equipment.
Yeah.
And really it's based on wear and use, and it's certainly getting way more use now that more activities are centralized here. Like it got a ton of use during the concerts because all the children that attended the concerts were therefore on the playground equipment. So it's just something that's a given that has to be looked at based on where we are with maintenance and use.
And again, I think in the master plan, they addressed that there needs to be continual update, maintenance of that park. So again, they didn't put specifics in there, but they did, again, suggest that in the master plan that we needed to do that with review. But yeah, that's a great question.
Are we just discussing this right now, or are we making, what's our,
There's nothing to be done with this right now, because in the spring, or if we start working with budget, there may be some just coming back to this to look at budget items. But right now, that does not need to be done. But I think people just wanted to look at that and see where we're going. Yeah. And get ready for any future, if we have the opportunity to put some stuff into the budget. Just to see where we are and what has been recommended. And kind of see what we've done today, which I think is quite good.
the wrong master plan discussion?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think as far as that goes, as we come back to that helicopter view, not today, but I think as we move forward, I think it would be good for us to look at that whole block of land, because we've got the fishing there. We've always had something on that roadway, and the elevation is so different with the boat ramp and stuff, that we've had people have to go through and around over through Block Q area to get to the boat ramps. But if we one idea would be flip that, lower that grade and put the boat ramp here. Now you open up some space over here that we're using for roadways that could be turned into additional parks and rec to Block Q or whatever. Maybe open up some areas on that side if we flip the traffic over. Still got to get dockside and their access and all that. But with the pavilion gone, I mean, it is what it is. But now that we're coming from this place, we've got some different opportunities. And I looked at the grade today. The grade's quite steep, but if you step way back, really the grade from here to over there is the same when you get to the boat ramp. We just got this big hill in between, because obviously the water sheet is on level, so that makes sense. I know to everybody else, but it's just kind of, when I drive up that hill, I'm thinking, because my kids used to run up and down that hill during the concerts.
Yeah.
And so that was always, they love that part. But if we can, when we go get into master plan and talking about that, for me, I think it would prohibit me thinking that would be a good place for a pickleball court, because I think it has more aquatic uses rather than pickleball.
And I think we'll go, and we'll maybe need to move on to the pickleball discussion, because I think one of the things that we need to do, and I think Tim Evans and people will help us, is that I think we're going to look at a lot of properties that could be potential pickleball sites, and then using some criteria that we will develop, then we can either say these sites are not acceptable, these sites are, and go from there. So I think we'll have a lot of discussion about lots of sites and what will happen to them, or not happen to them, or what are the other problems, like permitting and that kind of thing. I think there's be a lot of interesting information we find out about a lot of the sites. So, yeah. So are we ready to move on to the pickleball courts? Okay. We've got several things in your packet. And I think probably the first thing we need to make sure that we understand is the tasker, just so that we're all on the same page as a group. I know that shared just a few pictures of pickleball courts, and then there's just a little bit of pickleball information in your packet, just so we have an idea of how large a pickleball court is for recreational use, and then some other information about pickleball courts. And we certainly will not get through all that we need to do today, but and I think one of the things, I guess I'll jump ahead before we just talk about the tasker, is we have lined up a field trip, I think, Christy?
Yes. So based on your calendar calls, it looks like December 6th is the best day for folks. December 6th at 10:30. and we can either take time, take time later to figure out carpooling and not use the meeting time, but December 6th, 10:30 leave time from here, and we'll have to advertise that there's potentially a quorum of the board. So it'll be a quorum notice.
And we'll talk a little bit later about where we might go as well. We will obviously need to take a field trip, but we need to be a little more specific. So,
Do we know where we're going yet?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'll have to make that decision. There's several places or multiple places we could go. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the tasker and what we think, as we read this, what we have been tasked to do.
So I'll speak to the tasker for a minute. The town clerk doesn't typically really do these anymore as far as handouts for you, but because this discussion was pretty involved, what she's done is an excerpt of the minutes here. These minutes haven't been approved by the board yet, so it would be, this is their draft version because their meeting is on the 19th. But that's how you're getting your tasker in this format to you now because you guys meet before they do. I'll also comment that the pictures I converted over, so I've shared them with the public today, and they're at your seat. They weren't in the packet because they weren't ready yet, but the top is the courts that the county built over at Ocean Isle. There's 5 courts side by side, and then the bottom is a private court that's a tennis court, and the point in showing that one is just the fact that as the board moves along in this, since Candace pointed out on her information sheet that the master plan for the town does say that we should investigate a tennis court because we don't have one, that it may be an idea that you want to consider a tennis court with pickleball courts on it so that you cover the thing that we don't have as well, because that affects the length and what property you would use. So that's the purpose of that picture. And then the maps that are at your seat and provided for the public, and I just ask that the public copies remain here so we can use them throughout the different sessions. These quality won't scan, so they're not in your packet. If we try to put this on a scanner, people are not going to know what they're looking at. So you have the hard copies here. I want to go ahead and point out that on about page 4, this is no top secret note over here in the top. We've used this for different exercises in the past, and at one point in time it was talking about a private access, but that's not relevant to the exercise we're doing. So what I did was David worked a long time on this map for the board when, for the Board of Commissioners, when there was a parking task, and he colored everything that was town on in blue. I took the smaller handheld ones, covered blue what could potentially be, in my mind, big enough from what staff has talked about since the board talked about this last month, for space, but I didn't put all town-owned property because, like, you're not going to go build something where the sewer lift station's going. So it's not going to all be colored, but things that you could potentially consider is colored. And since we've obtained block Q, since that map was done, block Q is now colored on here as potential space. So everybody understand what you have here, and please bring these back each time and take care of them. All right, Candace, thank you.
So we'll use these maps probably more in the future than today, but we'll have these, and again, just bring them back. So
Can you just go through real quick and just say what maps we're not going to use?
Well, it's probably easier. It's probably easier to tell you properties that have been discussed that we think are potential to be used, and then if we discover any more that are highlighted that you want to consider along the way, we could do that. Can I work it from that angle?
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah.
All right, block Q, the space at Jordan Boulevard where the pavilion was. The Sand Dollar is what we call it, parking lot here across the street from Town Hall on the corner, right across from the parking that's already there. It's paid parking right now.
Oh, okay.
700 block 800 block.
Slow
Slow
down.
down.
Okay.
And there's two potential possibilities. And again, this is throwing out space. It doesn't mean that there are not other things that may take properties off the table, because we're really not getting into that depth of discussion today until we take our field trip. But in your master plan, there are two right-of-way properties between Brunswick and Ocean Boulevard that the town has that are not lots. They're right-of-way. So they're in your master plan, and you all have this document.
Those are the ones that we looked at for dog parks?
Yes.
Okay, so.
It's on page 43 that we're discussion for possible dog park facilities.
Okay.
I will add that currently those are identified in the stormwater master plan the town adopted as stormwater solution sites. So
Underwater pickleball.
Well,
Yeah.
because I think once, if we go and visit, we kind of get an idea of what space we might need, then I think at some point, we need to sit down with Tim Evans to talk about, you know, what might be feasible.
So,
To the property. Because we don't know how large yet, we don't know what amenities we would suggest, so we need to take a field trip and we can do some of that.
in this tasker, and at a minimum, you guys will want to consider parking, bathrooms,
That was my
because
next
bathrooms are going to be
Parking.
required with
Yep.
the occupancy load, and the lighting, fences, that sort of thing.
so is there any prohibition? We're gonna have to place, playground equipment at some point. And that's coming up in the sooner rather than later. Is there any, can we look at the cost analysis as far as replacing the items where they are versus changing that out for pickleball and putting the kids' stuff somewhere else?
I mean, we could, and that's again, we need to get more information before we get that far.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're way.
Are you
we're-
asking me about? Wait, I'm sorry. I might be able to answer that question right off the bat. Are you asking about potentially trying to put another court in the park instead of?
Well, I'm talking about when we replace the kids' equipment, just remove it and put it somewhere else.
And putting a pickleball court
Put the
there?
pickleball there.
No,
Yeah.
you are at capacity with stormwater and pervious
Also,
out
we
there.
can't have anything
No,
hard surface.
that's why we
That's
can't
not
pour
permanent.
concrete for a dance floor out there that everybody wants me to do yesterday.
But you do a treated deck for it, which costs, never mind. Yeah,
So anyway, we will
okay.
get to some of all those.
No, that's a good
Yeah,
question.
we will get to all of that, in the near future. So, we do have to come up, probably after our field trip, and we can talk a little bit about it today. We need to come up with establishing minimum requirements and specifications for pickleball. We do need to look at the possible locations. And I know it mentioned in the tasker, Lois and Gerda, is that off the table?
That's off the table. That's
Okay.
not town owned.
Okay, that was just one that somebody threw out, so I just didn't want to leave that off the list if we, and then I think we also need, or they would like for us to do, the best of our ability, is give them some kind of cost estimate, for this.
Back to the bathrooms that we have to have along with parking. Are they stick-up bathrooms, or are they waterless bathrooms, or are they porta-johns, or what is our responsibility there?
It would need to be, is my understanding, and Tim can answer you better, but is my understanding from this park, when we build it, it can't just stay porta-johns. So it's got to be a on-site facility. Could it potentially be a portable restroom trailer like that at the pier? That's what Tim would have to answer on occupancy load. Because the load of the facility drives the type of facility that you have. Or if it would have to be actual stick built, that would be a question for him.
And depending on where we put it, we would need lighting.
Right. Lighting, bathrooms, parking, obviously fencing,
ADA sensitive.
yeah, it has to, yeah.
So let me go back, just humor me here for a minute, because I don't have the dimensions. If you use one of these, lots the size of a building lot that we have available, if we have available, would that, I mean, that, I can't see that would work for a pickleball court and a bathroom and parking.
Well, I think that's what we'll quickly determine when we look at some of those locations. I think we can quickly say,
This isn't big enough.
like,
Yeah.
you may not be able to put all of that, provide all of that in that particular location. Yeah. But, yeah. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that we can quickly, I think, eliminate with Tim, some of the possible locations.
So in just kind of looking over this tasker, it says they would like for us to determine the requirements that are needed. All right, so that's like number one, which I get that. But we're saying we're basically going to defer to Tim on that.
No, we know requirements like bathrooms, fences, lighting, and I'm not deferring to Tim on that. Those are the kinds of things that
And we know how big a pickleball
Right.
court is.
you know how big a pickleball court, the recreational, once you get, the area around it's 30 feet by 64 feet.
But as far as, I mean,
Tim was gonna have to say, if you use X property, you're gonna have to have wetland permitting, for instance.
Yes.
Or you're gonna have to.
so
have-
we're going to come up with, we need this, and this,
Yes.
based on state requirements probably. Because they're going to say you got to have this, for this many people, you got to have this many
Right,
bathrooms.
and
this
he'll
much
help us,
parking.
yeah, he'll help us figure that out as well.
Okay, so, all right, that was, so is this going to, like we did with the other things, are we going to do an architect on this or not?
No.
Right now, we had $5,000 allotted in case we need to
So
do
we're not.
survey work.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
What I would assume is gonna happen is we're gonna do our work and come up with maybe 2 or 3 sites to recommend. It may be different prices per site. It could be there's a site that already has bathrooms and there's a site that doesn't have bathrooms or
Yeah.
parking. And so we may say there's 2 great sites here. One's gonna cost X amount of dollars and one's gonna cost another. And we're not gonna make the decision of where that goes.
Yeah. We're just saying, here's
Right.
options.
Right, here's what we found out, here's what our research has shown, you know.
Right,
our best
'cause-
estimate.
For example, 2 locations, Block Q, there's a bathroom that's being built there this fiscal year. This Sand Dollar lot, there's a bathroom already there. The travel distance and ADA tells us whether that bathroom counts or not. Those are things that planning and zoning have to weigh in on as far as confirming that. But then you would know, be able to say if you put it X, you don't have to have a bathroom.
So, just so for clarification, this property, the impervious area is used up. This property is not.
Right.
Gotcha, okay.
And then, what was I gonna say, Tim?
So so kind of going to the next thing as far as the pickleball court here, are we ready to today decide whether we want 1 or 2?
I think we need to go see them, I mean.
I think you need to see them first.
Yeah, I don't think we need, whether one seems small, 5 seems too many, so I think we need to go look at what some spaces are. I don't even know, some of these, could you even put 2 in there? Like Grace was saying, some of those lots, I call lots that go from Ocean Boulevard to
They're
Brunswick,
not big enough.
you probably could put 1 in, but probably do nothing
They're
else.
long, but they're not wide.
They're not wide.
And is it worth it putting 1 in and having bathrooms and parking?
Right.
One and
Right.
court for 4
Well,
people.
but I mean,
Right.
but I think to your point,
Yeah.
well,
I was just thinking, when you're talking about those lots down there, they come up to each other, so that means that they're, 50 by 200? They're close enough that 1 bathroom could probably serve both of them.
and the other thing too is how close are they to a beach access? That we can use a restroom for the beach access too.
There's a beach access, the far, if I'm thinking right, the far down toward High Point Street, part of that is, there's a beach access sign on Brunswick. I think that's a beach access through that property, and then I know there's a beach access, right down on the left, past High Point Street. So it's pretty close.
So the other question is this, do all the pickleballs have to be together?
Well, we don't know that, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're gonna start that discovery process before we get there, because again, I'm not sure you're gonna wanna plop a pickleball court down here and a pickleball court way over here.
Yeah.
If you don't have bathrooms close by.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. If we come up with a schematic, like we tailor it to a lot, let's just say, and we say, okay, in this lot, it's close to a beach access. That's one thing. Okay, then we put a pickleball court here, and then we put a bathroom with that, and it has enough parking to facilitate that. So it's kind of like a pocket pickleball court.
Yeah.
Does that even make sense? I mean,
Well,
would anybody, like, does anybody go to one pickleball court, or do they need to?
Right, so I think that's what we're gonna find when we go visit sites, that you'll look at how they're laid out. And then we can have some more discussion about what makes sense to provide a recreation opportunity to increase the number of pickleball courts.
And then in order to finish facilitating the planning of the field trip, I just need feedback on how much time you guys can spend that day, because we're planning to visit Ocean Isle and Lockwood Folly, but we could also go out to potentially Town Creek has combo tennis and pickleball courts, so that would be but that's further down 17. So I just need some feedback on how much time you guys have in order to plan it.
Yeah, and we'll get that in just a second.
And there can be more than one day for field trips, but trying to fit the first one in to get you started on this with everybody's holiday schedule was difficult.
Right.
Christy, are you going to the Ocean Isle that you have a picture of, or are you going to the Ocean Isle where they have their new rec center where they built the pickleball court?
We're going to do both,
Okay.
but I'm going to try not to. So I was going to move to user and some things that have been found out. So user wise, the new pickleball court at the park that's just been built at Ocean Isle is a half basketball court, full pickleball court. But what they have done is that they started out that, and this is from their assistant town manager, they started out that I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday was all basketball. The other days were pickleball. When the weekend they changed their pickleball nets to the fence, like where ours were moved to the side over here, and they had a staff person that was in charge of moving them back and forth. Well, what happened was they had some nets to get damaged, and the town said, we're not buying nets anymore. There's a pickleball facility down that the county has. All pickleball players are going to go here. This is now going to be a full basketball court. So that's the report of what they've decided. I don't know if that'll change over time, but that's what they're doing with their user. And then the mayor did receive a letter about the court, and I just thought it would share it with you based on the tasker. It's from a child, so I'm not going to include it as a public comment because it's a child. But they're saying, please expand the pickleball basketball court because me and my granddad haven't been able to use it this week to play basketball. Can you please put a rope barrier across half the court and expand the left side a little bigger and make sure to make barrier so other people can take it down or put the barrier up, and put a sign to tell people to put the rope barrier up when done, especially if a group of basketball players use the whole court. Thank you.
Is that their only basketball court?
That's this one.
He's talking about ours.
No, is
That's-
that their only basketball court?
Who, Ocean Isle?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I think so.
I think so too.
Do we know anybody who plays pickleball?
I do.
Oh,
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of people play
There are.
pickleball.
I'm just thinking at some point in this conversation, we ought to talk to somebody who plays pickleball.
Well,
We'll have.
we have resources. We also have somebody who builds courts that's agreed to come in and lay courts down for this board on property to look at. But if they hold true to that, but like digitally.
Oh,
So
I was
you
gonna
could
say,
see-
I was like, they don't
So
play
you
pickleball.
could see what it would look like.
So I think we have.
Leo, I got you.
Right, so I think we have a lot of opportunity to look at what might fit places once we get started. The other thing I did put down here is that, you know, we are gonna have to be sensitive to the noise factor we put it near a residential section. That has caused major issues in some communities where they've had lawsuits going on. Not around this area, but in other areas where they have pickleball courts very close to residents. Where because of that noise, pickleball is noisier than tennis and things like that. So for some people, that clink of the ball is very annoying. So that's another thing is once we start looking and getting serious about a location, just something to factor in. It's just something unique to pickleball.
Something you need to find.
Yeah, so we need to look at that as well.
As well as the parking and the lighting.
Right, yeah.
So can I ask you something? The pickleball courts we have,
Uh-huh.
and the parking and the lighting and all that, is it gonna be kind of like the same? I mean, we seem to, they have the parking and the light, everything already done here. So, I mean, can we look at what that is compared to where we could put that, another one of those, without doing maybe the basketball court? But
And we
I
have.
mean, you know, how much parking, how much light,
Right.
all that stuff.
Mhm.
Because this is
Well, yeah.
nice, it's a nice,
Yeah,
So basically, you're saying we have a template right here, will that template be able to move?
yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
we
I'm
could do
saying,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, my question is, how much usage, apparently from the letter, it's a lot, but how much usage does the pickleball get now versus basketball on our, that we have right now?
There's usually pickleball players out there every morning for several hours, and
Is
then it's
Is it typically a morning issue?
No, with the lights, you have a designated nighttime for pickleball, right?
yes, there are designated times both morning and night for pickleball, and the rest of the times are first come first serve. So if it's open, it doesn't matter. It's first come first serve.
If we took basketball away, would that work as pickleball?
I mean, it's pickleball now,
That's
so
what
it
I'm
would
saying.
continue to work as pickleball, but it would be a nightmare to take basketball
Yes.
away because you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
enough.
No. So what I'm asking is this: I know we're talking pickleball all in our heads, but could we possibly be just talking basketball? Move the basketball court?
Maybe make 3 pickleballs out of
You
that.
see what I'm saying? I mean, we're talking about just moving pickleball, but we really could move either or, couldn't we?
You could.
Yeah,
I mean, you could move a basketball court or move a pickleball court.
but your tasker says look at additional pickleball courts.
It does say that. You're right.
It doesn't
Well,
say
it-
decide how we could best use the facility that we have and what are the alternate choices.
But-
Touche.
Well, that's because the commissioners.
Okay, wait, I have to stop you because you have to
Right.
public comment or be recognized because we're having a lot of back and forth that I'm following
But
here.
you could look at, once you figure out how much room, because we could look at some other alternatives, yes. But I think that is gonna come in the next discussions. But we know we've already talked about amenities. We know we need bathrooms, like obviously fencing and parking, at a minimum, walkways, those kinds of things to go around that.
When it comes to how many pickleball courts we're going to say that we should have, this came from the master plan. Is that correct? Okay, and so out of here, it's saying 1 for 5,000 residents.
Right.
Obviously, we exceed that now, right?
We're doing something for sure.
Yeah.
Well, no, we exceeded. We exceed the number that's required based on this in the off season during the summer. We're under, right? 'Cause I would say in summertime we have about 10,000 people now through the week.
Okay, that standard is great. They put those in a master plan. They're from the organization called the National Park and Recreation Association. They have moved, they will put those in to give you some kind of indication of are you meeting your needs? But if you read a lot about standards, they will also say you need to look at the uniqueness of your community.
Sure.
And I think we're not meeting the need. If you're out here, and I do yoga out here early in the morning, sometimes pickleball players are already here. So it is crowded and people are waiting often. So, well, I just put that in because it was in the master plan.
Right. So
But-
basically my question is, how are we going to arrive at how many pickleball courts we need?
I think that's up to this community for what we need. You
Yeah, I
don't,
know,
you
but
can't-
they're not tasked for it. We are.
Well, we are, but we can, I think the community's gonna decide how many pickleball courts they would like to have.
Well, if they come back and say we just need 1, that changes how much
Now,
time
we
look
can
at
look,
stuff.
but what I'm saying is, what our master plan said, and I put it in there because if you read the master plan, that there is no right way to determine how many pickleball courts we need. So I think we can look at area we have. We know we have more use than we can facilitate right now. I think even in the off season, there are a lot of people here.
So we need more than 2.
We need more than 2, and that's probably all we know at this point.
We don't know if we need 5 yet.
Yeah.
We probably,
Right, I don't think this community needs 5, that's a lot of pickleball courts.
and that's what I'm trying to figure out, is what is that now? Is it somewhere like 2 to 4, I mean, something like that, or is that what we're kind of looking at, you think?
You know, I would say that, and my best guess would be between 2 and 4, but 4 seems like a lot to put in the area that we have.
We can start having tournaments.
That's right, well, yeah,
There's a lot of pickleball tournaments.
yeah.
And we've actually had tournaments on this court before.
Yeah.
We used to do a tournament every May for Cinco de Mayo weekend. And we would actually set up one court in the center that's not there now, painted, and have that as practice and run for 2 days.
So,
And actually had a lot of people that traveled in from Charlotte to participate in that.
So the other thing, the reason for the question was this: if we did say we need 1, then the lots we look at is going to be a lot more than if we say, well, no, we decided we needed 3. Well, then that's going to eliminate some of the lots that we're looking at, which could save time and just go, hey, this is the number we picked. This is where it'll fit. That was the purpose of
right,
that.
I think we just need to go look at some sites and see what a complex more than 1 looks like. We know what 2 look like here.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the discovery part of this in December. What other questions have we not thought about today that we might want to put on our list to think about in terms of as we address?
Well, I think focusing on the requirements that are needed, I think that's probably a great first step, because then that we don't go look at a bunch of stuff that we don't need to. Just be more efficient.
We kind of got that list, right?
What do we do?
Parking, bathrooms, lighting, fence,
3 courts.
2, 3. I mean, I don't. The number right now is not important to me. Is what we're looking at.
Well, the thing is, it's going to change your requirements. If you have 3 courts, you're going to have more people ready to be. If you have
More
1 court.
parking, more.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's the reason.
I guess I
I'm trying to
haven't
get that number.
seen, I don't know in my head, how
Okay.
many
Okay,
sites
gotcha.
on this island will accommodate 3 pickleball courts?
Gotcha.
I think if I had to say right now, Q Lot, you could put a bunch.
Oh yeah.
But when you start looking at some of these others, like the old pavilion, I don't think 3 pickleball courts will go up there.
No.
I mean, that's a very small area, so, you know,
Well,
And my thing is,
800 block.
Yeah.
I don't know how many.
I don't see how we can look at just one pickleball. Because if you're gonna put parking, you're gonna put lighting, you're gonna put a bathroom.
Yeah,
Space there is just not worth it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you're talking 4 people.
Well, I think the only reason I would even entertain the idea of 1 pickleball court is if we could dual use the restroom for beach access. That was my only thought
Yeah.
process on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I just think, again, just for management of recreation facilities, a one-off to me seems very inefficient for the town to even
I
manage.
agree.
I mean, unless it's close by here. Yeah, so to me, sticking a pickleball court off and putting it, like you said, a bathroom and designing parking doesn't sound very
Lighting,
effective.
fencing, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So,
Waste of
For
money.
4 people at a time.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, just
Or two.
in case people don't play pickleball or tennis and aren't familiar with the court, I know most people are, but when we're talking about 1 court, what I described at Ocean Isle, where they have half court basketball and a court for pickleball, is like a 1 court, but out here we have 2 courts now. So they run each side of the half court of basketball. So we already, the length that you have 2 full pickleball courts.
Right.
Now, are those desirable sizes? Like,
well, I mean,
Well,
there is a, I mean, you mean the size of the pickleball court?
just for me visually to be able to see that.
They should be regulation size. They
Yeah.
should be either 20 feet by 44, and then you put some, another 10 and what, to get To get
10
the
and
30 by 64 is what you need to play, I guess.
Space wise with your.
Space-wise, on side to
Side
side
wise.
and back to
So you
back.
don't run to the fence.
Right, well, yeah, yeah.
Maybe this will happen, when that court was designed, was pickleball even a thought process then?
Mhm.
Okay, all right, that's what I want.
Yeah, so there is some minimum, yeah.
And the other thing is what Christie said, do we put a tennis court in with the pickleball courts? You know, tennis
that
running
massive-
one way and then back, and then the.
And that's strictly just because your master plan told you didn't have one, and the
Right.
board should consider that. That's the only reason that's brought up.
Right. And we don't have to bring that forward. I think we can look at that and see what they look like. And, multi-use, again, creates its own problems, but there are people on the island that like to play tennis and have to go off island to do that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I get emails all the
Right.
time with people vacationing here that want to know if we have a public tennis
There's a
court.
lot of tennis players.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're gonna see ebbs and flows and activities throughout the generations.
Mhm.
Tennis has been a staple. And I think, pickleball is relatively a new phenomenon for everybody to be involved in. Is that gonna last another 4 years?
Yeah.
Or we
Tennis
10
is
years?
always
I
gonna
mean,
be there.
Tennis is always gonna be here, so I don't think you'd ever go wrong, but I think you just leave the option open. I don't know that you necessarily address it right now, but hey, in the future, this could always, in the back of our head, here's something that could happen too. So I don't think it's bad about it, but I think it's basically gonna take care of itself. If you put 2 pickleball courts in and they're about that size, then you're gonna
That's
be-
not long enough for tennis.
That's all.
Tennis court has to be made
Has to
longer
be a little bit
in
longer.
the.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's gonna affect our
Even if
siding
you just
requirements.
build the 2 courts, but make it long enough, if
Yeah.
you wanna come back later and put a tennis court in,
I got you.
then,
We can look at
While we're
something.
doing it, we need to look at
At
it.
least think
Yeah.
about that.
yeah, that's
and-
what I'm saying.
We could put a snack stand in for the meantime.
And there may be
You're
some.
not, he moved away from me for a reason.
I know he did. I know. I'm not smacked him yet.
Smack him for me.
Thanks.
Anything else and before we start looking at maybe where we go and how long we're going to spend on our trip? Please speak up if we haven't thought about a question. I think we've got a lot of good ideas and, we've got some criteria to look at property. I think we'll get some more specifics of that as we move forward. Again, we have we do have some money to spend if we get a piece of property that we have to look at, like, with the wetlands. So there is some recognition that we can't look at a piece of property and make decisions about it just right off the top of our heads. There may be some, we don't know yet, there may be some, I'm thinking the 800 block maybe might need further investigation if we were to look at that and want to move forward. And we do have a few dollars that we could get someone in to say, yes, that's feasible, or it's feasible, but it's going to cost you this much. So we do have a little bit of money that we can get some advice from some folks as we deal with some property.
Christie, the property at Town Creek, do you know which properties is dual use? Which courts?
Both courts are dual use.
For the basketball and the tennis?
Oh no, I'm sorry. They have 2 tennis courts, and the 2 tennis courts serve as pickleball courts as well.
I got you. So that there, when we look at that size, that's gonna be the size if we wanted to dual use it. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, we'll keep thinking and we will get together. We have a December meeting, and then right after our December meeting, we have our field trip. And we have, Christie mentioned Ocean Isle, and then going to, is it Lockwood Folly, which are close by. How much time? I think we have it scheduled for 10:30. Do you think we have time for 3, or do you want to just stick with the 2?
Town Creek will take you 35 minutes from right here. Travel only.
Are there any in Charlotte that we should,
They're private courts in Charlotte. I don't
Okay,
know that
okay.
they've built any at their park yet.
okay. I don't know, I thought there was something.
Christie?
Yeah.
So, if you guys want to go to Oyster Harbor, which is also private, but I can get you access to that. They have 2 tennis courts that they currently use for 4 pickleballs. If you want to go look at what it looks like to see 2 tennis courts, or even if you only want 1. I could get you access to that from with the code.
I mean, it's closer than going to.
That works.
Yeah. Okay, Keith?
And can I just say one more thing?
As the chair.
Can I say one more thing about the Oyster
Yes.
Harbor?
Yes.
No one ever plays tennis on it. And the pickleball is every single day. But, and they recently added a basketball on one end because people wanted to hoop. So they got the basketball. That was very recent.
All right, so Ocean Isle, is that agreeable to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
And that would be maybe the first stop? Does that make sense?
For clarification, are we going to the new one on the island or the one out?
Both.
Are you going to go to both?
Both.
Okay, so 2 stops there, basically.
Right.
Okay.
I would say one thing about private communities as opposed to a rental community. During the season, we will have much more than a private sector using the facilities because they're older and they work. And when you're here on vacation, you're wide open. So I think there's a difference between a private community sector and a rental community.
Right. I agree.
I agree. I've had clients that have asked us where to go for tennis.
And they've got some, what middle school it's got, some of the counties got, I think
Cedar Grove is
Yes.
where I direct people for
Yeah,
tennis.
That's what I tell them.
And so I know that the county has got some access to tennis. So we have 2 stops. Help me, y'all, it's gonna take us, what, 20 minutes?
Well, Lockwood.
Lockwood. So that's private, right? Or is that the county?
Right.
Which,
So is it gated?
Yes.
Yes.
How are we going to get behind the gate?
The gates never close there.
Okay.
Because they have the golf and they have the restaurant, way back there
Yeah,
where the
Marco
football courts
Falls.
are.
Okay.
So that's never closed.
wait a minute, why,
It
what did you say?
closes
At night?
at night.
I was thinking that you were talking about the big recreational facility out there on 211. That's Lockwood. You're talking about the one to Lockwood Folly.
I'm deferring to Commissioner Thomas because she asked that you guys look at it during this discussion in the meeting that you look at Lockwood and Ocean Isle. So which Lockwood are you referring to?
Blackwood Folly, where the restaurant is in the golf course.
Was that before?
So you think we can get back there?
Yes, you can. If you're not going at night.
Right.
No, I don't think we can.
No, we're going in the morning.
Do you want to go?
I think if you're going to do, and I mean, like I said, if we need to, we can schedule 2 trips. But I think that if you're going to do a private facility to look at what they have, that you should go look at a public combo, at least, if not this time, another. So I think that you should at some point go to Town Creek or a different public combo.
Well, I mean,
Well, just so we know, they're all the same dimensions.
Yes.
I just
Yes, they're all the
measured them
same
all.
dimensions. They
Yeah,
I
look
just
the
measured them all.
same.
They're all the same dimensions.
yes, they tend to be
So-
standard, yes.
Because Lockwood Folly has 2 side by side, and the public park, Town Creek, has 2 side by side.
Well,
So I mean, if you want to go see 2 side by side, I say we just go to one spot, and then Ocean Isle is going to have 4 side by side. Am I looking at the right one? Maybe we're looking at the wrong one.
So, in terms of what we're looking at, does it make a difference whether we go private or public?
Not initially, but I just want the board to be cognizant, and you're not going to get into it at this level, but wear and tear is going to be different.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we get into surfacing and that kind of thing, we need to be, yes.
Gaining perspective on what you want to build, no.
Okay. Okay, board, it sounds like we don't, going to Ocean Isle and seeing both facilities seems like a reasonable thing to do. What is your pleasure about going to Lockwood Folly or or Town Creek, not trying to do both of those in the same day. I don't think we're gonna spend all day looking at pickleball courts, do we?
Well, I think it's either Lockwood or Oyster Harbor that Commissioner Thomas said she could gain access
So
to.
we don't wanna go to Town Creek then?
We can take Town Creek off the list. Just
Okay.
keep in mind about the
Okay,
Wear and tear.
so do you have a preference?
I thought those were three we're going to.
I make a motion, we go to Lockwood Valley and to Ocean Isle, both places at Ocean Isle.
Is it, in Rockwood Valley,
Lockwood, yeah, so 3 spots.
2 spots? Any comments on that?
What 3 spots, I'm sorry?
Ocean Isle.
Lockwood Valley, private, Ocean Isle, the big park, and then Ocean Isle, the new park.
Oh, 2 of those, no, got it, I'm sorry.
So we're going to go to Oyster Harbor.
We're gonna take Oyster Harbor out of it. You know, you can go, I mean, feel free to go visit, facilities anytime you're out and about. I mean, they're all over the place.
Pictures or whatever.
Take some pictures. So I think, to get some idea of location, how they're, I mean, there's lots of things you can do that we don't do that pickleball players have, which is, you know, ways to put paddles up, you know, get in line to play. I mean, there's a lot of little things that you need to have out there. You could have out there. They're not big ticket items, but benches, I mean, we have benches here, but there's benches for people to sit on, hooks for their bags. I mean, there's lots of, we haven't even talked about water. I mean,
Can I get you to give a second
I will.
before we
I'll second.
continue discussion?
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we're going to, the motion is that we go to, both parks at Ocean Isle and to Lockwood Valley
And this is on the 6th.
on the 6th.
When is it we're going to see the properties on our island?
We are going to,
You guys should explore those on your own until that time, and then if you want to do a group field trip, we'll schedule that on a different day.
Got it.
so let's deal with this motion first. All in favor? Aye. Yeah, and I think once we get an idea, and probably in January, because our December meeting, we've got our tree lighting that evening, so we'll have some time to discuss this and get it set for our field trip. And then I think we'll have to work more with the town and look at the land here.
Can we, do we want to discuss this before we look at these?
Discuss what?
Anything about pickleball in the next meeting?
Well, I mean, we can certainly have it on the agenda, talk about pickleball in general.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, would it be, since we're gonna go look at the places the next day, would it be a good time to maybe have Tim come in and talk to us about different requirements?
I
Or is
can't.
that premature?
I can't speak for his schedule, but I'll tell you that we have to have a very limited meeting that day with the tree lighting that night. There's just not enough of me to spread around.
Sure.
So your meeting's gonna have to not run long. I'll ask him if he can come in and see what his schedule is that day, but it won't be an in-depth, elaborate discussion that day.
I mean, I don't know that we need to do it if we're looking at parts the next day, but if he could maybe say, hey, be looking for these things, and we're out there looking, we go, okay, that's why they did that, that's why they did that, we gotta keep in mind that. That's the only thing I was thinking.
Which you can see. Chris? Anybody else? Any other questions before we get out of here that we can address?
I got a question.
Uh-huh.
Like on the dimensions on those lots down, like in the 800 block. I'm wondering about the depth, because they're right there on the marsh. You know, and how much, you know, you're gonna have to bulkhead it.
That's what Tim's gonna have
Okay,
to tell us.
okay, because I know there's, when you get into that, there's a lot of permitting and everything.
Yeah.
You know, dealing with CAMA and whoever, so.
Right.
Just money.
Well, I know it's just money.
That's why I think we just have to do our due diligence to say, we looked at this property, you wanna go here, it's gonna cost you X amount of dollars, or you're gonna have permitting issues. You know, this might be the easiest place,
Flooding issues.
flooding issues, whatever it is. So,
Just check that box off, so it's not slow.
It's gonna flood.
so I think that we just need to, you know, give them back the most
Underwater
complete
pickleball.
information we can.
Uh-huh.
I have a motion? Anything else before we, oh, I guess we got public
Public
comment. Do we have any public comment?
I'll make a comment.
Huh?
I just want to reiterate a point you made, Ken, is a lot of the properties that are on the table here are in residential areas, either right next to houses or right across the street from houses. So if, as you explore them, some of them sound like you might go down that path, please engage the neighbors, the people involved, because you don't want lawsuits, and I can definitely see a path that gets us sued by dropping the bathrooms, the lights, the noise, all that parking right next to these residential houses. So if that looks like where you're going, please get them informed and engaged quick.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
So I'm not clear, and I was part of the task of that. Are we building just dedicated pickleball courts, and then we're not gonna have any pickleball here? And it's only gonna be basketball, which comes back to Keith's point of, is it easier to move basketball? Is that the
We haven't,
interpretation?
I don't think that,
we haven't gotten that far. To me, right now, we've got 2 pickleball courts. It's multi-use with basketball.
Right.
And we haven't even looked at whether we need to take those off and make that basketball only.
Okay.
Make that pickleball only and move the basketball. I mean, I don't think we've gotten that far as to what makes sense.
Okay, the only other comment I have is that some of these pictures, when you go to see Lockwood Folly, these are huge compared to what you really need.
Right.
Lockwood Folly is very small. I mean, this does give you a very good representation. It would actually be smaller than that because we have a very large space between the 2 courts that isn't needed. And that's, I think, to accommodate the basketball lengths that you need. So that kind of gives you a good perspective. But
This is a stupid question, but for me, if we're gonna put a pavilion over on Block Q, we gotta have a bathroom. We're gonna probably have to have lights over there. And parking will be, have to have parking in my, I mean, why would we just look at that space right there to put pickleball?
Yeah.
I mean, they were with our concerts
Right.
this time.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they were there, so
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
And I think we may quickly get there. I just think we have to
Yeah.
at least, because we were asked to look at alternate sites by the
Right.
commissioners. And Block Q was in one of those that I think some of them will be easy to eliminate, and others we may have to say, there's a choice here. Commissioners, what do you want to do? You know, we can tell you the pros and cons of each one, maybe none. Maybe that some of them are so cost prohibitive that we don't think that anybody would want to do them for the, you know, so, yeah, I mean, if I had to vote, it would be, you know, Block Q is the obvious, but I don't know that for a fact at this point. And then it gets back to Keith's point about, you know, if we do Block Q by itself, or where we put them and what we have to do to put them on Block Q reasonably, so that's a whole other discussion.
Well, and just as a side note to that, I know that there's a stormwater plan that's been done and whatever, so now if we put impervious areas on here, does that change stormwater? So we get it, I mean, obviously it will change it, but is it within the percentage of what you can change? That would be a
I think they've only done a small part of the stormwater.
the
so-
stormwater plan was changed to modular, so
Right.
if things are added to the site, then it has to be looked at. And once you get over a certain amount, then you're back to the original plan.
Right.
So I think we have some leeway there. Anything else for the good of the order? I have a motion
I'll
to
make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Great. Great. All in favor?